Our story is just after World War II. Surrey, obviously a fairly important team in the history of county cricket. They decide that they want Major Bennett as their captain.
Right.
We've been waiting for you. We would like to offer you the captaincy of Surrey. Right?
Beautiful.
What an honour. Okay.
All I remember is that was not the right Major Bennett, not the correct one.
That was not the Major Bennett that Surrey cricket were looking for.
That was a major howler.
It was a major howler. It was not the Bennett that they were looking for. I have Behram with me for the third edition of Stupid Cricket as a co-host. This story he knows a little bit more about. The last two I completely went at him, but I'm not sure anyone can remember all these details 100%, so we'll see how he goes here.
Let's see.
First thing that you need to know is that our story is just after World War II, and it's set in England. And in fact, it's not set too far from here. It's in South London, this particular story. And the problem, of course, with cricket after World War, in a country that actually had to go and fight it actively and was getting bombed and all these sorts of things, was when they came back to county cricket, they didn't know who should be in their sides.
Yeah.
They didn't know who was, in some cases, dead or alive. They didn't know who was injured.
Who had PTSD.
All those sorts of things. Who even wanted to play cricket anymore, right? So Len Hutton, of course, got injured. I don't think he was in the war at the moment, but he was doing some sort of training. He broke his arm and lost an inch off his arm. So even if you weren't directly fighting, you still had a chance of getting hurt because you were doing things you hadn't done before. So Surrey, obviously a fairly important team in the history of county cricket. They're trying to put their team together. And I don't know the full details of this, Behram, but all I know is that they decide that they want Major Bennett as their captain.
Right.
Now, early in 1946, people are coming in to sign up for their membership. So in those days, even if you're a player, quite often you would come in and you would sign up for your membership at the start of the year, especially if you weren't like a big star.
Okay.
And so a Major Bennett comes in to sign up as for his membership. And when he's signing up, they go, "Oh, Major Bennett, we've been waiting for you. We would like to offer you the captaincy of Surrey." Right?
Beautiful.
What an honour.
Yes.
How would you feel if you're a person who went in to pay your membership and they said, "We'd like you to captain the Islamabad first-class team"?
I would jump on it with open arms, right? And to be fair, I must confess, the first time Jarrod mentioned Major Bennett to me was a few weeks into us working together, which was about over a year ago. So I did cheat a bit back in the day. He told me not to look at the story, and we'll do something about that someday. We'll record something. Today is that day. I did look up on it a bit, like very briefly, but in my defense, I don't remember much. Okay. All I remember is that was not the right Major Bennett, not the correct one.
That was not the Major Bennett that Surrey cricket were looking for.
That was a major howler.
It was a major howler. It was not the Bennett that they were looking for. That was Major Nigel Bennett, who had played a couple of games of first class before the war. So he wasn't the worst cricketer, to be fair, and he would have looked roughly like a cricketer, I'm hoping. But he was not in any way a regular first-class cricketer or the sort of person you would want to give captaincy to. There was, however, another Bennett at that stage, Behram. There was a Major Leo Bennett, who was thought to be a very good cricketer, and I think he played some good cricket during the war years as well, and they thought that was the sort of person to offer captaincy. The problem being is that they had already offered captaincy to someone else, and you've now been to Lords and you've worked around English cricket. There's a certain pomposity, there's a certain private school, chum, elite, there's a certain gentleman versus amateurs. It was seen as impolite to take the captaincy off Major Nigel Bennett and give it to Major Leo Bennett. And so they decided to keep the captaincy with what? Arguably the most important county team of all time, outside of Yorkshire. So top two at least, most important county team of all time. They decided to give the captaincy to the wrong person and then keep him in that position. I want to know, when you first looked that story up, what did you think of that?
I thought that in the war, was Major Nigel Bennett at least leading his battalion? Does he have any sort of leadership experience? And it is bizarre that they would not actually have the full name, right? Why is it just Major Bennett? I know this is post-World War II, but I mean, you've got to have more names or at least more facts in there to make sure you've got the right guy.
If these are posh guys, you would assume they all had about 8 names. Yeah. Right? They would have had all their names stacked up, and somehow they didn't manage to find the full details of that.
And it's not like this is an era where photographs did not exist at all, albeit They didn't exist like...
I just don't think they would have... I don't think Major Leo Bennett was famous enough to have a photo. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we're being unfair here and they should have actually checked this.
Yeah.
But you're right. If you're going to offer the captaincy, I would have thought the first thing you would have looked at is if they were both Major Nigel Bennett or if they both Major Leo Bennett, I'm a little bit more on Surrey's side at this stage. That's the first part of it. But what about the fact that when they knew they were wrong, they didn't actually change it? Like they didn't go back to the original Major Bennett and go, actually, it wasn't you.
You spoke of the pompous elitism and how they wouldn't want to be impolite, but it is a prestigious club. And if you are running after the prestige, you'd want to win games of cricket, right? And you would have to win games of cricket with the correct Major Bennett, who was Leo.
And I'm just going to assume that not all Major Bennetts who have played cricket at first class level have captaincy skills.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying that Nigel Bennett had no skills, but he wasn't expecting to be leading Surrey. Whereas Major Leo Bennett, I think we know that he was probably going to be playing some cricket. So there's no way of looking at this and not thinking it's crazy.
Another thing they could have done is, I'm sure they, had already communicated via letters. Check the handwriting, right?
I like that.
I don't know why people did not do that enough back in the day, because that is like one of the first things that you look at in detective movies.
I love if they check the handwriting, whereas in this case, you're right. They could have done photos and handwriting.
Yeah.
Just check his name. They could have just checked his name. All right.
Signatures are old.
You want to swing wildly at the internet like you've got the new pill in your hand, but you keep getting dead battered. Find the movement you want with NordVPN. They are our protection against terrifying cyber threats and wide-battered geo-blocks. NordVPN will help you get through any rights restrictions so you can watch all the cricket you want. We aren't always happy with the wickets we're on. Sometimes we need a change. NordVPN can switch your virtual location so your IP address is ready to cash in. So if you need to get around the internet's rules, or I suppose in our case laws, select NordVPN. They can help you watch a game on a cheaper stream in another country. Give NordVPN the ball and let them penetrate all your vast internet issues. Because if you need a VPN, go Nord. Use nordvpn.com/Kimber to get a huge discount off your NordVPN plan plus 4 additional months for free. It's completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. You can also receive a 20GB daily data voucher. The link is in the show notes. Protect your computer like a big hitter is coming for you at nordvpn.com/KIMBER right now.
Okay. So now they have their captain. They understand it's the wrong person. I would assume even by this stage, Major Nigel Bennett understands that he's the wrong person.
Also, Major Leo Bennett, if I was him...
We'll come back to Major Leo.
I would create a ruckus.
Major Leo is quite interesting in this story. So it's the 1946 season. Remember, county cricket is not as strong at this point because they have lost so many people to death, and the conditions of the grounds aren't up to scratch in some cases.
The world is still in chaos because it's still 46.
Exactly. It's right after the war and everything else. So they've got this guy who doesn't bowl, and so he bats for them, right?
Okay.
And they do very similar to what happened with India when India had Vizzy in their side, and they hide him at the number 8 position. If you're a captain of your club cricket team and you don't bowl and you're at number 8, that's because they don't think you're very good.
Yeah,
right?
That's fair.
Major Bennett, Nige, that's where he bats. He bats in 31 matches in that year, 45 innings, 2 not outs. Not outs is a little bit low if you're batting at number 8. He makes 688 runs.
Okay. It's not too shabby.
His highest score is 79, which I think is... I could not love him anymore for having scored 79. He scores 4 50s. He only takes 6 catches in 31 matches, which seems a little low to me. So don't know about his fielding. He averages 16. I think, all things considered, Major Nigel Bennett did a pretty good job here.
He overachieved. And maybe it was the captaincy pressure. He felt that responsibility that I have gotten this accidental role at one of the most prestigious county clubs of all time. And that is why I'm going to push myself to average 16. Of course he did. 4 50s, I mean...
We're taking that?
Yeah, we're absolutely taking that.
What do you think in 1946 you would have done batting at number 8 in county cricket? Because there's a lot of churn in county cricket and there's a lot of dud games and 3-day games and declarations and all this sort of stuff. Honestly, what would you have averaged? 8? 9?
Probably.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I think he's doubled what a normal person should be doing in that situation.
Yeah.
That's okay, isn't it? I'd take that.
I would definitely take that, especially back in the day, I don't know about the 40s, But if you go a little further back, averages were quite low.
Yep.
And if you take that into consideration, 16 is not as low a number as people might think it is.
No. This is where I think the story gets a little bit more fun. So we have talked about the wrong Mr. Bennett.
Yeah. Or well, the real fake Major Bennett.
The real fake Major Bennett.
Yeah.
But there is, of course, another Major Bennett who was the person who was supposed to be offered this job.
The original, the OG Major Bennett.
Alfred Charles Leopold Bennett. I think he went by Leo Bennett. Okay, so another Major Bennett. He grew up not too far from where we're recording this. He was in Dulwich College. And so right in the middle of the Surrey hotspot where they find their players. So much so that in 1937, he played for the Surrey second 11.
Oh, wow. So he was an already contracted Surrey player, but for a different team.
He was in the setup is the way I would put it. Do you know what I mean? Like if the war hasn't happened, he would probably go from the second 11, play some games in the first 11. That means that someone must have seen him before.
Yeah, and when someone would have been introduced to, hey, meet the new captain of Surrey, Major Bennett, he would have said that that's not the guy I've played with or I've seen play for Surrey second 11.
So he played 3 games for Surrey second 11. He made 93 runs with a high score of 33 and average 18.6. So he was young at that point. You know, he didn't set the world on fire, but he was part of their system and enough for someone to remember him and think to themselves, that's the guy we want to have captain, you know, what was that, 9 years later?
Yeah.
So clearly he had some kind of skill. So Major Leo Bennett doesn't actually play first-class cricket in 1946.
What a bummer.
So he went from potentially being Surrey's captain to not playing any first-class cricket.
Not having a job when the economy is in turmoil and the world was just at war. Wow.
I don't know. I suppose the captain, it wouldn't have been a job, though. It would have been a profession. They would have been amateurs, so it wouldn't have been a job. But he would have got money. So you're right.
True.
He's missed out on money.
I mean, he was a major still, so I'm sure that he must have made some money.
I have no idea how all that
And he
works.
has a name which suggests that he was also Batman's butler.
He has a lot of names, in fact.
Alfred Charles Leopold.
Would you say that he was, what kind of superhero, or how would he fit into comic books?
He would definitely be Batman's butler.
Okay, I see that. All right, so Batman's butler. The next year, he goes to Northamptonshire.
Yeah.
Right? And so he plays 9 games and bats in 18 innings for Northamptonshire. Now remember, he was going to be Surrey's captain. He bats slightly higher up the order.
Okay.
But he makes 430 runs in his 18 innings. A lot more runs per game than the other Major Bennett.
Yep.
But not like a ton of runs. He doesn't make 100. His high score is 68.
Lower than the other Major Bennett score of 79.
And he averages 23.88.
Average is higher.
Okay, so what was the average of Major Bennett?
16 point something.
Okay, so we're saying a man off the street can average 8 less than the actual person you wanted to be your captain. Right? Then it gets better, because even though he doesn't make a lot of runs, in 1948, he goes on to play for Northamptonshire again, and that year, he also captained some games.
Yay!
So he finally becomes the captain that everyone hoped he would become. The wrong right Mr. Bennett finally becomes the man we all hope he could be. My final question for you, Behram, is this stupid cricket enough for you?
Before I give you a conclusion or my final thoughts, I really am curious to know how much did Leo Bennett, Major Leo Bennett, average in 1948 when he captained Northamptonshire as well?
So he only played a couple of games that year and he averaged 8.
Okay, so taking all of those things into...
But if you look at his full career, he played 16 first-class games and he averaged 20.2.
So that's still 4 runs more than the real fake Nigel Bennett.
So...
yeah, I mean, taking all those things into consideration, I'd have to say that even if they did this by accident, Surrey actually hired the correct Major Bennett and things just fell into place, and that is as stupid cricket can get, because I'm sure that we had people in the first half. They did not expect this story to go in this direction. Absolutely. I did not expect this story to go in this
You knew
direction.
about this story and you didn't realize how stupid this was going to
Because
get.
I did not know about the other Major Bennett.
There's always another Major Bennett, dude. There's always another Major Bennett.
He was probably better off serving Batman.